Nearly 100 officers died in the line of duty in 2025. The first, on Monday, January 6th of 2025, Lieutenant Marc Meadows was struck and killed by a motorist while directing traffic at Grants Mill Road and Overton Road in Irondale. Shortly before 7 a.m., Lieutenant Meadows was putting out cones when he was hit. He was transported to Grandview Medical Center where he succumbed to his injuries. Lieutenant Meadows was a U.S. Army veteran. He had served with the Irondale Police Department for 30 years and previously served with the Mountain Brook Police Department. He is survived by his wife, children, and 2 grandchildren. On Wednesday, January 8th of 2025, Deputy Sheriff Tim Corlew was killed in a motorcycle crash at 5:30 a.m. on California 91 east of La Sierra Avenue in Riverside. While traveling westbound in the HOV lane, Deputy Corlew's patrol motorcycle collided with a vehicle, ejecting him from his motorcycle. He was transported to the Riverside Community Hospital, where he was pronounced deceased. Deputy Corlew had served the Riverside County Sheriff's Department for 8 years. Assigned to the Jurupa Valley Sheriff's Station, he is survived by his wife and 2 children. Wednesday, January 15th of 2025, Sergeant Marc Butler was killed in a head-on collision during a pursuit on Highway 6 near Farm to Market 3090 in Navasota. When College Station officers confronted a female suspect attempting to cash fraudulent checks at a bank, the suspect fled southbound on Highway 6. At the FM 2154 ramp, the suspect exited Highway 6 and re-entered the highway, traveling south at speeds of over 100 miles an hour in the northbound lanes. At 3:25 p.m., Sergeant Butler, who was traveling northbound, maneuvered his marked patrol vehicle and collided with the suspect, preventing her from hitting other motorists on the highway. He was transported to Chi St. Joseph Hospital, Grimes Hospital, where he succumbed to his injuries. The suspect was killed at the scene. Sergeant Butler was a U.S. Army veteran and had served with the Navasota Police Department for almost 4 years. He is survived by his wife and 2 children. On Wednesday, January 15th of 2025, Deputy Sheriff Jesus Vargas was shot and killed while serving a warrant at Stella Link Road north of Interstate 610 in Houston at 11:30 a.m. When Deputy Vargas and his partner approached the suspect fired at the deputies from his vehicle. Deputy Vargas was transported to the Ben Taub Hospital where he succumbed to his wounds. The suspect, who was a repeat violent offender, fled the scene. When a U.S. Marshals Service canine located the suspect hiding in a dumpster, the suspect fired multiple shots at the canine. A responding officer returned fire, killing the suspect. The canine suffered 2 bullet wounds to the neck and nose and is in stable condition. Deputy Vargas had served with the Brazoria County Sheriff's Office for 17 years. He also served with the United States Marshals Gulf Coast Violent Offenders Task Force. He is survived by his wife and 3 children. On Monday, January 20th of 2025, Border Patrol agent Chris Milland was shot and killed during a traffic stop on Interstate 91 near Newport, Vermont, near the Canadian border at 3:15 p.m. Without warning, a female subject exited her vehicle and shot at officers. Officers returned fire, killing another subject in the vehicle who was armed. The shooter was apprehended and charged with murder, assault with a deadly weapon, and multiple firearms offenses. Agent Milan was a U.S. Air Force veteran and had served with the United States Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Protection, U.S. Border Patrol for over 9 years. He was assigned to the Swanton sector. He is survived by his mother, father, brother, and girlfriend. Saturday, January 25th of 2025. Officer Baldino Morales Sanchez was killed in a motorcycle crash on PR 406 in Anasco, Puerto Rico, shortly before 2 a.m. He was completing his shift at a municipal festival when he was involved in a single vehicle crash. Officer Morales Sanchez had served with the Mayagüez Municipal Police Department for 20 years and had previously served with the Anasco Municipal Police Department. Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. Officer Jason Roscoe was shot and killed while responding to a report of a subject brandishing a gun at a residence near the 4700 block of High Creek in North Las Vegas around 2:15 p.m. When Officer Roscoe attempted to make contact with the subject, the man ignored him and fled. After locating the man, the subject refused commands and fired at Officer Roscoe. Officer Roscoe returned fire, killing the subject. Officer Roscoe was transported to the University Medical Center where he succumbed to multiple gunshot wounds. Officer Roscoe was a U.S. Air Force veteran and had served with the North Las Vegas Police Department for 17 years. He is survived by 2 sons. Thursday, February 6, 2025. Police officer Kelvin Patrick succumbed to gunshot wounds he received at the 18,300 block of Steele Avenue in Detroit on May 24th of 1996. While driving north on Steele Avenue shortly before noon, Officer Patrick and his partner observed juveniles walking south. He stopped his patrol car to investigate a possible case of truancy. When his partner approached the 2 juveniles, one subject smiled at her while he pulled out a gun and fired at Officer Patrick. He then shot her in the hand before the 2 subjects fled east. Both officers were transported to Grace Hospital. Officer Patrick's partner was released 2 days after the incident. Officer Patrick suffered wounds to his chest, back, and arm, piercing his spine and leaving him partially paralyzed. He passed away from complications from his wound on February 6 of 2025. The youths were never apprehended. Officer Patrick had served with the Detroit Police Department for 29 years. Friday, February 7th of 2025. Police officer Jeremy Blount was shot and killed while responding to a suspicious person reported at a shopping center at 1425 Market Boulevard in Roswell around 7:15 p.m. When Officer Blount arrived at the shopping center, he encountered the subject near the Ace Pickleball Club. While the officer approached the subject for questioning, the man produced a handgun and fired at Officer Blount multiple times. Officers responding to 911 calls arrived quickly and took the subject into custody. Officer Blount was taken to the hospital where he succumbed to his wounds. The suspect faces charges of murder, aggravated assault against a law enforcement officer, and a weapons charge. Officer Blount had served with the Roswell Police Department for over 3 years. He is survived by his wife, parents, 2 sisters, nephew, and grandparents. Monday, February 17th of 2025. Trooper Kyle McAsee was struck and killed by a snowplow while at the scene of a traffic crash on eastbound Interstate 80 between Ashland and Greenwood. Around 10 a.m., Trooper McAsee was standing outside his patrol car when an approaching snowplow hit him during a snowstorm. Other troopers provided aid, but he succumbed to his injuries at the scene. Trooper McAsee had served with the Nebraska State Police Trooper McAsee had served the Nebraska State Patrol for 10 years. He is survived by his fiancée. Saturday, February 22nd of 2025. Patrolman Andrew Duarte was shot and killed while responding to reports of an active shooter at the UPMC Memorial Hospital on Innovation Drive at 10:43 a.m. A subject entered the UPMC Memorial Hospital ICU on Saturday morning, and after learning the woman he lived with had died, he pulled out a gun and started firing, striking a doctor and another hospital worker. He continued to threaten hospital employees and took a few hostages. When officers arrived at the scene, the subject shot at officers and ordered them to retreat. Despite efforts to talk to the shooter, he refused to engage. When he emerged from the ICU, he was holding a female nurse hostage, whose hands were bound with zip ties, at gunpoint. Unknown to officers on the scene, the subject was out of ammunition and his gun was empty. When the subject refused to release his hostages, officers fired. 2 bullets struck Patrolman Duarte, mortally wounding him. During the standoff, the subject called his brother and shared a situation, stating that he was ready to die. 4 hospital employees were injured and 2 were shot, and 2 received other injuries. 2 law enforcement officers were shot and a third was wounded by shrapnel. In 2021, Patrolman Duarte received a Hero Award from Mothers Against Drunk Drivers for his work in enforcing impaired driving in Colorado. Patrolman Duarte had served with the West York Borough Police Department for over 2 years and previously served with the Denver Police Department for 5 years. He is survived by his mother and father. Saturday, February 22nd, 2025. Police Officer Cameron Gervin and Police Officer Chris Reese were shot while conducting a traffic stop on Sylvan Court at approximately 11:30 p.m. Friday evening. While on patrol, Officer Gervin and Officer Reese observed a car with an expired plate and executed a traffic stop. During the traffic stop, the officers asked the subject to exit the vehicle, and the subject refused. When finally exiting the vehicle, the subject tussled with the officer and immediately produced a pistol, shooting both Officer Gervin and Officer Reese. While the officers were incapacitated on the ground, the subject shot each officer a second time and then fled the scene. The subject was found in a shed near the initial scene with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. First responders attempted the life-saving procedures, and both officers were transported to local hospitals. Officer Gervin succumbed to his wounds at 4:30 a.m. Saturday morning at Virginia Beach General Hospital. Officer Reese had succumbed to his wounds just after midnight at Princess Anne Hospital. Officer Gervin had served with the Virginia Beach Police Department for 5 years. He is survived by his expectant wife and parents. Officer Reese had served with the Virginia Beach Police Department for 3 years and had previously served for 3 years with the Virginia Beach Sheriff's Office. He was survived by his wife and parents. Sunday, February 23rd of 2025. Deputy Sheriff Martin Shields was shot and killed while responding to a domestic call at the 15,000 block of Midway Road in Terri. A female requested help in retrieving her belongings from a home. When Deputy Shields and another deputy arrived at the scene, a man inside the house fired at them. The suspect also shot his wife and another female trying to flee the home. The women were transported to a local hospital and are in stable condition. When responding officers entered the home, the suspect was found with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He had a lengthy criminal history, 7 felony arrests and 18 misdemeanor arrests with 0 convictions. Deputy Shields had served with the Hinds County Sheriff's Office for 9 months and previously served with the Mississippi Department of Corrections and the Jackson Police Department. He is survived by his wife and daughter. His father had also served with the Hinds County Sheriff's Office. Saturday, March 1st of 2025. Police officer Felicia Riley succumbed to injuries she received after responding to a 911 hang-up call at a residence in the 1600 block of Birmingham Street in St. Paul on March 24th of 2010. When Officer Riley arrived at the home, she was invited inside and was notified that an elderly couple's son was threatening them. As Officer Riley approached the subject, he began to attack her. She used her taser to subdue him, but he kept swinging and punching her in the face. Despite being tased, the man punched her again, and she fell to the floor where the man proceeded to kick her in the head multiple times. Officer Riley stood up and attempted to subdue the subject, chasing him outside the home. After responding, officers helped Officer Riley restrain the subject. She was transported to the hospital for her injuries, where she was diagnosed with traumatic brain injury. Throughout the years, she suffered from permanent double vision, chronic migraine headaches, light sensitivity, nausea, and a decrease in cognitive functioning, forcing her to retire from the department. She passed away on March 1st of 2025 from her injuries. The subject was found guilty of assault and sentenced to 8.5 years in prison in 2015. He is unable to be charged with her murder due to the double jeopardy clause in the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution. Officer Riley had served with the St. Paul Police Department for 17 years. She is survived by her husband, 3 sons, 2 daughters, 2 sisters, and grandchildren. Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. Supervisory Special Agent Dennis Wagner died as a result of cancer that he developed following his assignment to the search and recovery efforts at the Flight 93 crash site in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, following the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Supervisory Special Agent Wagner was a U.S. Army Reserve's Iraq War veteran and served with the United States Department of Justice, FBI, for 20 years. He was survived by his wife, daughter, and son. Friday, March 7th of 2025. Sergeant Lee Hendrickson died as a result of cancer that he developed following the assignment to the search and recovery efforts at the World Trade Center site following the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Sergeant Hendrickson was a U.S. Navy veteran and had served with the New Jersey State Police for 25 years. He is survived by his wife, 2 daughters, brother, and 2 grandchildren. Saturday, March 8th of 2025. Sergeant Joseph Escona was shot and killed while investigating illegal weapons possession at the corner of Carteret Street and Broadway in Newark. At 6:37 p.m., Sergeant Escona and another officer arrived at the intersection of Carteret Street and Broadway to question a subject about possible weapons possession. The subject began firing at the officers immediately, and both officers were struck while still in their vehicle. At least 18 shots were reported near the White Castle at the intersection. When responding officers arrived, they discovered Detective Escona and the other officer both wounded. Both officers were transported to the University Hospital, where Sergeant Escona succumbed to his wounds at 2:30 a.m. The other officer was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. 5 juveniles were taken into custody. A 14-year-old was also injured and charged with weapons possession and murder. Sergeant Escona had served with the Newark Police Division for 5 years, the last 2 as a detective. He is survived by his mother, father, and 5 siblings. Sergeant Escona was posthumously promoted to sergeant. Monday, March 10th of 2025. Sergeant George Ramirez was killed in a vehicle crash on Kentucky Highway 146 in LaGrange. Around 7:11 p.m., Sergeant Ramirez was en route to guard an inmate at a hospital in Louisville when he was involved in a 3-car collision. Sergeant Ramirez had served with the Kentucky Department of Corrections for 7 years. He is survived by his wife, son, mother, father, 2 brothers, and 3 sisters. Monday, March 17th of 2025. Deputy Sheriff Hector Cuevas was killed when his patrol car struck a pole at the intersection of El Evado and Seneca Roads just before 11 a.m. Deputy Cuevas was in pursuit of a stolen vehicle that had been reported to the department just minutes earlier. During the high-speed chase, Deputy Cuevas's vehicle collided with another car and then a nearby power pole. The impact of the crash split the patrol vehicle in half, critically injuring Deputy Sheriff Cuevas. Although first responders rushed to administer aid, he passed away at the scene. The driver of the other vehicle was taken to a nearby hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The driver of the stolen vehicle was apprehended a short time later and is in custody, charged with vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated, evading a police officer, and causing death or serious injury. He had a history of evading law enforcement and a lengthy criminal history for vehicle thefts. Deputy Sheriff Cuevas had served with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department for 6 years. He is survived by his wife, 2 children, his parents, and his brother and sister. Sunday, March 23rd of 2025. Sergeant Grant Candies was killed by the driver fleeing a traffic stop on Interstate 10 in Slidell near the Oak Harbor exit. The driver was driving recklessly without a tag on the car when deputy attempted to stop the vehicle on Brown Switch Road. When the driver refused to stop and continued to drive at speeds of 85 to 90 miles an hour while swerving on the roads, a pursuit ensued. Just after midnight, Sergeant Candies was deploying a spike strip to assist with stopping the vehicle pursuit when he was struck and killed by the suspects. The suspects, all juveniles, continued to evade St. Tammany Parish deputies on Interstate 10 into Orleans Parish, where their vehicle crashed into a New Orleans Police Department unit near Crowder Boulevard at approximately 12:30 a.m. All suspects were apprehended, and the driver was charged with first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, and aggravated flight. 2 other juveniles have been charged with second-degree murder and manslaughter. The New Orleans Police Department officer in the unit struck by the suspects was injured but was treated for non-life-threatening injuries and released from the hospital. Sergeant Candies was a U.S. Marine Corps veteran and had served with the St. Tammany Parish Sheriff's Office for 9 years. In 2023, he saved 2 lives and was named St. Tammany Parish Sheriff's Office Deputy of the Year. He is survived by his wife, 2 children, mother, father, 3 sisters, and a brother. Wednesday, March 26th of 2025. Police officer Osmar Rodarty was shot and killed while serving a search warrant at Kestrel Court in Olivehurst at 7:50 a.m. Law enforcement officers were serving 20 drug trafficking search warrants through the Yuba, Sutter, Tehama, and Butte counties to stop a transnational drug trafficking ring from Mexico through the United States. When the Sutter Region SWAT team entered the home on Kestrel Court, the suspect opened fire and gunfire was exchanged. Officer Rodarty was struck in the ensuing gunfire. Officer Rodarty was transported to the Adventist Health and Rideout Hospital where he succumbed to his wounds. The suspect, a convicted felon, was shot and killed at the scene. Officer Rodarty was a U.S. Army veteran and had served with the Marysville Police Department for 2 years. He is survived by his wife and child. Wednesday, April 2nd of 2025, Deputy Sheriff Will May was shot and killed while responding to a disturbance at the Dollar General Market in Devonic Springs. Around 2 p.m., Deputy May arrived at the store, and after talking to the subject, he decided to escort the man out of the store and not arrest him. As soon as they exited the building, the man pulled out a gun and shot Deputy May a few times. Deputy May returned fire and was able to call for backup. Deputy May was transported to North Okaloosa Medical Center with multiple gunshot wounds. One of the bullets was underneath his bulletproof vest, and he passed away over 4 hours later. The suspect died at the scene. Deputy May was working an overtime shift and was on his way home when he took the disturbance call. He had served with the Walton County Sheriff's Office for over 11 years, and the last 6 of which were as a law enforcement officer. He is survived by his wife, 4 children, and parents. His mother and father retired from the Walton County Sheriff's Office. Wednesday, April 9th of 2025, Deputy Sheriff Melissa Pollard was killed when her cruiser collided with the back of a semi-truck at the intersection of FM 14 and State Highway 37 South between Quitman and Winsboro at approximately 10 a.m. Deputy Sheriff Pollard succumbed to her injuries at UT Health Quitman. The driver of the semi-truck was not injured. Deputy Pollard had served with the Wood County Sheriff's Office for over 8 years and had previously served with the Fannin County Sheriff's Office for 3 years and the Collin County Sheriff's Office for 10 years. She is survived by her daughter, 2 sisters, her partner, and 3 grandchildren. Wednesday, April 16th of 2025, Captain Helio Garcia was killed when his patrol car was struck by another vehicle at approximately 11:30 p.m. on Flat Shoals Road close to Connell Road. Captain Garcia was on patrol when a vehicle veered into his lane and hit his patrol car head-on. Captain Garcia was taken to the Grady Memorial Hospital where he succumbed to his injuries earlier the next morning. The driver of the other vehicle had just finished probation and had a blood alcohol level of 0.194. She was initially hospitalized but survived her injuries. She has been charged with vehicular homicide. Captain Garcia was a U.S. Marine Corps veteran who had served with the South Fulton Police Department for over 6 years. He had previously served with the College Park Police Department and the Holy Springs Police Department and was instrumental in forming the South Fulton Police Department. He is survived by his wife, 2 daughters, a son, his mother, his father, and 2 brothers. Tuesday, April 22nd of 2025, Deputy Sheriff Jesse Perez was killed when debris from a commercial vehicle struck him during a traffic stop on West U.S. Highway 180 in La Mesa. He succumbed to his injuries at La Mesa Medical Arts Hospital. Deputy Perez had served with the Dawson County Sheriff's Office for 8 months. He is survived by his wife, 3 daughters, a son, mother, 2 brothers, a sister, and a grandson. Saturday, April 26th of 2025. Deputy Sheriff Brandon Sykes was shot and killed during an attempted traffic stop just before exit 194 on Interstate 20 near Augusta at approximately 6:30 p.m. Deputy Sykes and 3 other deputies were serving a domestic violence protective order on the subject. At first, the man was compliant and non-threatening, but when deputies turned away, he fired at them with a 9mm AR pistol. Deputy Sykes was mortally wounded. Another deputy was shot in the face. 2 deputies returned fire. One of the deputies gathered the injured deputy through a barrage of gunfire and transported him to the hospital, where he is in critical condition. The suspect attempted to flee in his camper, but was stopped on the highway. Hours later, drones found the suspect dead inside the camper with pipe bombs, firearms, and ammunition. Deputy Sykes was a U.S. Army veteran and had served with the Columbia County Sheriff's Office for over 6 years. He is survived by his wife, who also serves with the agency, a daughter, parents, 3 brothers, nieces, and a nephew. Friday, May 2nd of 2025. Special Deputy Sheriff Larry Henderson was intentionally struck and killed by a driver while directing traffic at the intersection of Martin Luther King Drive and Burnett Woods Drive in Cincinnati. At 1 p.m., Deputy Henderson was providing traffic control and monitoring the traffic signal box near the University of Cincinnati for the commencement ceremonies. While standing on the sidewalk, a driver deliberately drove his vehicle into Deputy Henderson. Deputy Henderson was transported to the UC Medical Center where he succumbed to his injuries. The driver, who had recently viewed body camera footage of his son being shot and killed after fleeing a stolen vehicle armed with a handgun, was arrested and charged with aggravated murder. Deputy Henderson was a U.S. Marine Corps veteran and had served with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office for 33 years. He is survived by his wife and 5 children. 3 of Deputy Henderson's cousins are currently serving in law enforcement, and 2 uncles and a cousin have previously served in law enforcement. Monday, May 5th of 2025. Lieutenant Nucci Credur was shot and killed by friendly fire while serving a search warrant at the 500 block of East Harrop Street in Rain. At 1:27, Lieutenant Credur was attempting to locate a suspect wanted for attempted murder in a stabbing incident when he was hit by friendly fire. Despite life-saving measures, Lieutenant Credur succumbed to his wounds at the scene. Lieutenant Credur had served with the Rain Police Department for over 20 years. He is survived by his brother and fiancée. Friday, May 16th of 2025. Sergeant Dale Berrien passed away from complications of a heart attack after helping a disabled motorist move their vehicle out of the busy roadway. On May 8th of 2025, Sergeant Berrien assisted with removing a vehicle from the Gulf Breeze Parkway near the Greenbrier Parkway in Gulf Breeze, just prior to completing his midnight shift. Immediately afterward, he complained of pain and went to the emergency room later that day. Sergeant Berrien went unconscious while being examined and was life-flighted to the HCA West Florida Hospital for emergency surgery. Despite life-saving measures, he never regained consciousness and passed away on May 16th of 2025. Sergeant Berrien had served with the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office for 21 years and previously served with the Escambia Sheriff's Department. He is survived by his wife, 4 children, and 10 grandchildren. Tuesday, May 20th of 2025. Deputy Sheriff Nate Ansay was killed in a vehicle crash on State Highway 301 in Effingham around 4:20 p.m. Deputy Ansay was traveling northbound on Highway 301 between Langston Road and Meadowprong Road when his patrol vehicle collided head-on with an SUV traveling southbound. He was transported to the hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. The other driver was also hospitalized. Deputy Ansay had served at the Florence County Sheriff's Office for over 1 year. Monday, May 26th of 2025. Deputy Sheriff Weston Scherer was shot and killed while responding to a report of a shooting and domestic dispute at the 100 block of County Road and County Road 15, south of Marengo, just outside of Columbus at approximately 7:40 p.m. When Deputy Scherer arrived at the residence, he found the subject seated on the porch. As he approached the subject and attempted to de-escalate the situation, the man threatened Deputy Scherer with a gun if he came any further. Deputy Scherer stayed behind and continued to speak with the subject until he moved to the steps and fired at Deputy Scherer, who was struck while returning gunfire. Deputy Scherer was taken to the local hospital where he succumbed to his wounds that night. The subject was also wounded and transported to a local hospital in serious condition. A warrant for aggravated murder has been filed. Deputy Scherer had served with the Morrow County Sheriff's Office for 4 years. He is survived by his parents, sister, and fiancée. Saturday, May 31st of 2025. Police officer Sam Riveros was shot and killed while responding to reports of gunfire at the 4200 block of Philhurst Avenue in Baldwin Park. At 7:12 p.m., When 2 officers arrived at the scene, they found one man unresponsive with a gunshot wound before they were met with gunfire. During the shootout, one of the officers was injured after bullets hit his patrol vehicle. Officer Riveros, also responding to the shooting call to assist the officers, he ran into a hail of bullets, preventing the shooter from targeting the officers and the other community members in the neighborhood. Officer Riveros was transported to the Los Angeles County USC Medical Center, where he was pronounced deceased. Investigators recovered a rifle and 60 spent shell casings at the scene. The man, found unresponsive, was shot and killed over a parking dispute. The suspect was struck with non-life-threatening wounds. He was charged with 2 counts of murder with special circumstance, 2 counts of attempted murder, and a charge for possessing an assault weapon. Officer Riveros had served with the Baldwin Park Police Department for 9 years. He is survived by his mother, stepfather, 2 brothers, and a sister. Sunday, June 1st of 2025. Police officer Timothy Ontiveros succumbed to gunshot wounds he received during a traffic stop on Jordan Street at 10:55 p.m. on May 26th of 2025. When Officer Ontiveros and another officer pulled over a driver, the man refused to roll down his window or give his identity. After negotiating with the subject for over 8 minutes, the officers attempted to arrest the man. The subject pulled out a gun and fired at officers, striking Officer Ontiveros and barely missing the other officer, who returned fire, killing the subject. Officer Ontiveros was transported to the San Juan Regional Medical Center in Farmington with gunshot wounds to his neck and shoulder. He was flown to the University of Mexico Hospital, where he passed away on June 1st of 2025. As his final act of service, his organs were donated. Officer Ontiveros had served with the Bloomfield Police Department for 6 months and previously served with the Farmington Police Department for almost a year. He was also a volunteer firefighter with the Aztec Fire Department. He is survived by his daughters. Sunday, June 1st of 2025. Sergeant J.D. White was struck and killed while escorting a funeral procession. He was flown to the Memorial Hermann Hospital in Houston, where he succumbed to his injuries. Sergeant White had served with the Angleton Police Department for 19 years. He was survived by his 3 children and 4 grandchildren. Thursday, June 5th of 2025. Lieutenant Eddie Mays suffered a fatal heart attack while arresting a man during a domestic call on West Crum Avenue in Boerne at 4:53 p.m. The subject was arrested and charged with domestic assault. Lieutenant Mays was a U.S. Air Force veteran and served with the Boerne Police Department for 30 years. He is survived by his wife, 2 children, and 8 grandchildren. Thursday, June 5th of 2025. Police officer Crystal Rivera was shot and killed during a confrontation with an armed subject. While on routine patrol at 9:50 p.m., officers attempted to stop a man they suspected of having a weapon at the 8200 block of South Drexel Avenue in the Gresham neighborhood. The subject fled, and officers pursued the subject into an apartment building where another armed subject confronted them. During the chaotic encounter, an officer discharged his weapon, fatally striking Officer Rivera in the back. Officer Rivera was placed into a patrol vehicle, but while en route to the hospital, the car experienced a mechanical malfunction and caught fire. She was transported in another vehicle and succumbed to her wounds at the hospital. The 2 suspects fled the scene, but were apprehended shortly thereafter. One of the men, a convicted felon wanted for 6 outstanding warrants, was charged with armed violence, illegal possession of a firearm, possession of a controlled substance, and possession of a fraudulent identification card. The second suspect, who was on parole, was charged with firearm possession by a felon and drug possession. Her partner was relieved of his police powers as a result of a separate incident. Officer Rivera had served with the Chicago Police Department for 4 years. She is survived by her daughter. Sunday, June 8th of 2025. Reserve Deputy Sheriff John Stahl succumbed to injuries he received in a single vehicle crash on June 7th of 2004 around 10:20 p.m. While responding to a call regarding a suspicious vehicle, Reserve Deputy Stahl lost control of his patrol vehicle, flipping a few times before his car burst into flames on Indiana State Road 7. A passing motorist pulled Deputy Stahl from his patrol car. He was airlifted to the University Hospital in Kentucky and remained in a coma for weeks. Until his death on June 8th of 2025, he suffered from traumatic brain injury, which resulted in a seizure disorder. Reserve Deputy Stahl was a U.S. Army veteran or Vietnam War veteran and had served with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office for 15 years. He is survived by his wife and sister. Sunday, June 8th of 2025. Police officer Gabriel Facio died 6 days after being shot in the face by a driver who had been pulled over for brandishing a gun in a road rage incident in the area near Ironwood Drive and Elliott Road. On the morning of Monday, June 2nd, Officer Facio and additional officers responded to a road rage incident involving a driver who had allegedly threatened others with a gun. After being pulled over, the driver was initially cooperative. However, when asked to step out of the vehicle, he became aggressive, retrieved a handgun from the glove compartment, and exited the vehicle. The subject kept walking down Radiance Avenue. Officers ordered him to stop and attempted to subdue him with non-lethal weapons, but the subject fired at officers, striking Officer Facio in the face. Officers returned fire, wounding the subject. Officer Facio was rushed to the hospital where he remained in critical condition for 6 days before succumbing to his wounds just after 1 p.m. on Sunday, June 8th. The subject was injured and also taken to the hospital. When he was released, he was charged with 1 count of first-degree murder, 7 counts of aggravated assault on a law enforcement officer, and 2 counts of disorderly conduct involving a weapon. Officer Facio had served with the Apache Junction Police Department for nearly 4 years and had previously served as an officer in the Phoenix and other agencies in the area. He is survived by his wife, daughter, son, parents, and a grandchild. Monday, June 23rd of 2025. Sergeant Shu Deng was struck and killed by the driver of a vehicle while assisting at the scene of a vehicle crash on the southbound lanes of Interstate 405 at Moraga Drive in Los Angeles. Around 1:58 a.m., Sergeant Deng was traveling south on the 405 when he witnessed a collision. After turning on his emergency lights, he exited his patrol vehicle to help the victims in the crash when he was hit by another driver. 1 person died at the scene. Sergeant Deng was transported to the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center, where he succumbed to his injuries. Sergeant Deng had served with the Los Angeles Police Department for 26 years. Friday, June 27th of 2025. Under Sheriff Brandon Gade was shot and killed while arresting a subject at 899 First Street in Phillipsburg around 9:28 p.m. After receiving a call about a loud booms and explosions around 6 p.m., responding officers were unable to find the source but cleared the area, attributing the noise to fireworks. At 8:30 p.m., Under Sheriff Gade responded to the scene after 3 more calls were made. When he encountered a subject outside the house, the man denied setting off fireworks. Under Sheriff Gade cleared the call but stayed in the area, believing that someone was exploding something stronger than commercial-grade fireworks. Another call came in regarding explosives at 9:18, and Under Sheriff Gade was immediately on the scene and found the same subject in his yard and smoke nearby. The man admitting to setting off explosives, not commercial-grade fireworks, a felony in Kansas. While placing the subject in handcuffs, the man pulled out a concealed handgun and shot Under Sheriff Gade 5 times. He returned fire, killing the subject. Under Sheriff Gade was transported to a local hospital where he succumbed to his wounds less than an hour later. An investigation revealed the suspect had more than 33 pounds of illegal explosive materials, over 20 firearms, and a stockpile of ammunition. Under Sheriff Gade had served with the Phillips County Sheriff's Office for 8 years. He is survived by his wife and 3 children. Sunday, June 29th of 2025. Police officer Kendall Corder succumbed to a gunshot wounds he received when he was ambushed at North 24th Place and West Garfield Avenue in Milwaukee on June 26th of 2025. Around 9 p.m., Officer Corder and his partner responded to a domestic violence call with a subject with a gun, which was upgraded to a shots fired call while they were en route to the scene. When they exited their patrol vehicle and approached the alley, they were shot at least 16 times by a subject shooting a rifle hiding in the bushes. Both officers were transported to the Froedtert Hospital. One officer was released on June 28th of 2025 after receiving gunshot wounds to the back and foot. Officer Corder remained on life support until passing away from multiple gunshot wounds, including a severed spine, on June 29th of 2025. The suspect was apprehended the next day and was charged with first-degree intentional homicide and first-degree reckless endangering safety. Another was charged with harboring or aiding a felon. A third was charged with possession of a firearm by a felon. Officer Corder had served with the Milwaukee Police Department for over 6 years. He is survived by his grandmother, 2 siblings, and a nephew. Monday, June 30th of 2025. Detention officer Francisco Flats was shot and killed by a federal inmate at the Erlanger, Western Carolina Hospital at 3990 East Highway 64 Alt in Murphy, North Carolina. Officer Flats and other officer transported the inmate to a medical appointment when the inmate took Officer Flats' gun and mortally wounded him. The inmate fled into the parking lot and drove off after carjacking a vehicle. Officer Flats was transported to the local hospital where he was pronounced deceased. Another officer was also injured in the scuffle and is recovering. The inmate was apprehended after a standoff. Officer Flats had served with the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office for 4 years. He is survived by his wife, who also served with the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, 4 daughters, 2 sons, and 15 grandchildren. Tuesday, July 1st of 2025. Deputy Sheriff Devin Mason was shot and killed while responding to a call on Old Timers Court in Darlington County. At 1:30 a.m., Deputy Mason and another deputy arrived at the residence where they received a tip regarding the location of a man and a woman with outstanding warrants. The deputies found the woman standing outside and arrested her. When the deputies entered their home, they initiated contact with the mother of the male subject, who stated that she did not know the location of her son. Deputy Mason walked to the door of the bathroom and was met with gunfire from the subject hiding inside the bathroom. Both deputies returned fire. Deputy Mason was mortally wounded, and the other deputy was transported to the hospital in stable condition. The suspect was shot and killed. The suspect's mother was charged with obstruction of justice and misprision of a felon. She died before trial. Deputy Mason had served with the Darlington County Sheriff's Office for over 3 months. He had completed his field training a week earlier. He is survived by his son, mother, stepfather, and fiancé. Wednesday, July 2nd of 2025. Officer Miguel Cano was killed in a vehicle crash at Bristol Parkway north of Green Valley Circle in Culver City, California at 12:30 a.m. Officer Cano and his partner had just arrested a subject for possession of drugs and an illegal weapon and were transporting him to be processed. While driving on Bristol Parkway, Officer Cano stated that he did not feel well. Shortly after that, he lost control of the patrol vehicle and crashed into a tree. Officer Cano was transported to Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center, where he passed away. His partner and the detainee suffered minor injuries. It is believed that Officer Cano suffered a medical emergency and lost consciousness before the crash. An investigation has been initiated. Officer Cano had served with California Highway Patrol for 2 years. He is survived by his wife and parents. Tuesday, July 8th of 2025. Deputy Sheriff Antonio Ailman was killed in an automobile crash on eastbound Interstate 10 close to the Avenida de Macia exit at approximately 5 p.m. Deputy Ailman's patrol vehicle collided with the back of a semi-truck while on duty. He was transported to Mountain View Regional Medical Center in Las Cruces, where he succumbed to his injuries. Deputy Ailman had served with the Dona Ana County Sheriff's Office for 4 years. He is survived by his wife and 2 children. Tuesday, July 15th of 2025. Deputy Sheriff Jeremy Cassidy succumbed to complications from gunshot wounds he received on October 29th of 2010. Deputy Cassidy and other deputies responded to a domestic call at 8083 Baywind Circle in Pensacola around 10 a.m. When they entered the home, a subject was hiding a screaming female hostage and using her as a shield. The subject shot 3 deputies before he was struck once in the hand and retreated into the bathroom. SWAT members were able to convince the shooter to surrender. 3 deputies and the female hostage survived their gunshot wounds. Deputy Cassidy was in critical condition for 20 days after losing both kidneys and receiving a kidney transplant. Deputy Cassidy suffered from multiple medical issues. On July 15th of 2025, he passed away from the medical conditions he developed due to his gunshot wounds. The suspect, who was a former boyfriend of the female he took hostage, was convicted of 4 counts of attempted murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault, armed kidnapping, and trespassing, and was sentenced to 4 life terms. Deputy Cassidy had served with the Escambia County Sheriff's Office for 6 years. He is survived by his wife, mother, 3 sisters, and 2 nieces. Thursday, July 17th of 2025, parole agent Joshua Bird was shot and killed in the Division of Adult Parole Operations at 7717 Edgewater Drive in Oakland at 12:48 p.m. Agent Bird was transported to Highland Hospital where he succumbed to his wounds. The shooter, a parolee who was released from prison a week and a half earlier, fled the scene, taking a bus and later stealing a car. He was apprehended and will be charged with first-degree murder. Agent Bird was a U.S. Navy veteran and had served with the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation for 11 years. He is survived by his wife and 3 children. Friday, July 18th of 2025, Detective William Osborne, Detective Joshua Kelly Eklund, and Detective Victor Lemus were killed in an explosion at the Biscaynes Center Academy training at 1060 North Eastern Street in Los Angeles around 7:30 a.m. Detective Osborne had served the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department for 33 years, assigned to the Special Enforcement Bureau. He is survived by his wife, who is also a detective with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, 4 sons, and 2 daughters. Detective Kelly Eklund had served with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department for 19 years, assigned to the Special Enforcement Bureau. He is survived by his wife and 7 children. Detective Lemus had served the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department for 22 years, assigned to the Special Enforcement Bureau. He is survived by his wife, who is also a detective with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, his 3 daughters, 3 sisters, who also served with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office, and 4 brothers. Thursday, July 24th of 2025. Police officer Philip Wagner was ambushed at Riverbend Drive near the 2200 block of Colorado Avenue in Lorain on July 23rd of 2025. At 1 p.m., Officer Wagner and another officer were in their patrol vehicle eating lunch when a man opened fire on their patrol car. When they called for help, another officer was also ambushed. 2 officers were life-flighted to the Metro Health Medical Center in Cleveland, and 1 officer was treated for a gunshot wound to his hand at Mercy Health, Lorain Hospital. Officer Wagner succumbed to his multiple gunshot wounds the next day. The shooter was killed in an exchange of gunfire with responding officers. Officer Wagner was a U.S. Marine Corps veteran and had served the Lorain Police Department for 3 years and the Sheffield Village Police Department for 4 years. He is survived by his wife and 3 children. Saturday, July 26th of 2025, Deputy Sheriff Elijah Ming was shot and killed responding to a domestic situation at 2627 South 30th Street at approximately 3:45 p.m. Deputy Ming and another officer from the Kansas City Police Department were responding to a request for a civil standby for a woman to move out of a home after being threatened by a man with a gun. Upon their arrival, the man began shooting and struck Deputy Ming. As additional officers arrived to assist, gunfire was exchanged and the man barricaded himself in the home. Deputy Ming was rushed to the nearby hospital where he succumbed to his wounds at approximately 8 p.m. After nearly 90 minutes, the suspect, who had been shot during the initial exchange of gunfire, exited the home and was taken into custody before being taken to a nearby hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Deputy Ming had served with the Wyandotte County Sheriff's Department for 9 years. He is survived by his wife and son. Monday, July 28th of 2025. Detective Didarul Islam was shot and killed while working a security detail at 345 Park Avenue in Manhattan. A lone gunman entered the building around 6:30 p.m., killing an additional 4 people and wounding 1. The suspect barricaded himself in an office and was found with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Detective Islam had served with the New York City Police Department for 3.5 years and was assigned to the 47th Precinct. He is survived by his expectant wife, 2 children, and father. His third son was born 3 weeks after his death. Detective Dedarul Islam was posthumously promoted to detective first grade. Thursday, July 31st of 2025, Sergeant Frederick Coleman suffered a fatal heart attack while responding to an emergency call for assistance at the Cummins Unit Prison at 2540 Highway 388 in Gould, Arkansas. At 11:35 a.m., Sergeant Coleman was rushing to the aid of another officer during an all-code assistance call when he collapsed and struck his head on the floor. Emergency personnel and staff administered life-saving measures until they transported him to the Dumas Medical Center Hospital. When he arrived, he was pronounced deceased. Sergeant Coleman had served with the Arkansas Department of Corrections for 15 years and was awarded the Director's Outstanding Service Award in 2022. He is survived by his wife, 6 children, and 2 grandchildren. Wednesday, August 6th of 2025, Lieutenant Albert Stout succumbed to complications of an infectious disease he contracted while overseeing the Animal Control Office at 700 North Upshaw in Robstown on February 14th of 2025. Lieutenant Stout became ill after working at the shelter and sought treatment at the local hospital. Within days, his health rapidly deteriorated, and he was transferred to Houston for additional care. On August 6th of 2025, he passed away from complications of the disease. Lieutenant Stout had served with the Robstown Police Department for 31 years. He is survived by his wife, 3 children, and 8 grandchildren. Friday, August 8th of 2025, police officer David Rose was shot and killed responding to an active shooter at the CVS at 520 Avenue Place in Atlanta near the Center for Disease Control and Prevention at Emory University. The suspect was brandishing multiple guns, firing at the windows of the CDC building around 4:50 p.m. when law enforcement arrived. He turned and fired at the officers. Officer Rose was struck and succumbed to his wounds at Emory Hospital. Another officer received non-life-threatening injuries. The suspect was found on the 2nd floor of the CVS with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He died at the scene. Officer Rose was a U.S. Marine Corps veteran and had served with the DeKalb County Police Department for 11 months. He is survived by his expectant wife, 2 children, mother, and brother. In October of 2025, he was posthumously honored with the Law Enforcement Purple Heart and Law Enforcement Medal of Honor by the Atlanta Police Department, the Mayor of Atlanta, and the DeKalb County CEO. Saturday, August 9th of 2025, Sergeant Kenneth Salas was struck and killed by a motorcyclist while removing debris on Interstate 90 near the Four Lakes exit in Spokane. At 7:40 a.m., Sergeant Salas stopped with emergency lights activated to help a motorist retrieve a hay bale that fell onto the eastbound highway. He used his patrol vehicle to block the hay bale while the motorist pulled the trailer to the right side of the road. Other drivers moved to the right lane to avoid the patrol vehicle, but the motorcycle driver did not see the patrol car until it was too late. When he attempted to avoid hitting the patrol car, he struck Sergeant Salas. Sergeant Salas was transported to Providence Sacred Heart Medical Center where he passed away from his injuries. The motorcycle was also taken to the hospital with serious injuries. Sergeant Salas was a U.S. Air Force and Washington State Air National Guard veteran. He had served with the Spokane County Sheriff's Department for 34 years and was planning to retire the following month. He is survived by his wife. Sunday, August 10th of 2025, Sergeant Caleb Iceworth succumbed to injuries he received in a motorcycle crash when he was intentionally struck on June 16th of 2025. At 11 a.m., Sergeant Iceworth was traveling on Jor Road en route to the funeral procession when a truck rammed into him at a high rate of speed. After being struck, he was knocked off his motorcycle and dragged underneath the vehicle for several hundred feet. Sergeant Iceworth was transported to the hospital where he succumbed to his injuries on August 10th of 2025. The suspect was arrested after bragging about it on social media. He was initially charged with criminal damage to property, hate crimes, resisting an officer, and attempted first-degree murder. He faces first-degree murder charges and the death penalty. His girlfriend was arrested and charged with obstruction of justice and accessory after the fact to attempted first-degree murder of a police officer. Sergeant Iceworth had served with the Baton Rouge Police Department for 23 years and had been awarded the department's Medal of Honor and multiple awards for heroism during his years of service. He is survived by his wife, daughter, mother, father, and brother. Tuesday, August 12th of 2025. Sergeant Ryan Hudson suffered a fatal heart attack after responding to a shooting call involving multiple victims, including a pregnant woman, in the 900 block of Boyd Street. A group of hundreds of people had gathered in the area when the shooting occurred. Sergeant Hudson responded to the evolving scene and assisted with the aftermath, but started to feel ill. He continued working, but his condition worsened. He sought medical treatment 2 days later. He was admitted to the hospital but passed away the following day. One of the shooting victims died as a result of the original incident. 4 people, including a juvenile, were charged with complicity to commit murder and complicity to commit first-degree fetal homicide. Sergeant Hudson had served with Paducah Police Department for 10 years. He is survived by his wife, 2 daughters, and father. Wednesday, August 13th of 2025. Trooper Dennis Ricks succumbed to injuries he received when he was struck by a truck during a traffic stop on August 10th of 2025. Around 2 a.m., Trooper Ricks had stopped a vehicle on Interstate 26 eastbound near mile marker 166 in Orangeburg. When he walked back to his patrol vehicle, the driver of a box truck struck him. He was transported to Trident Medical Center in North Charleston, suffering from severe brain injury, internal injuries, and broken bones in his back. He passed away on August 13th of 2025. The driver was initially charged with operating a vehicle under suspension. His charges were upgraded to reckless homicide. Trooper Ricks had served with the South Carolina Highway Patrol for almost 2 years. He is survived by his wife. Friday, August 15th of 2025. Police officer Susan O. was shot and killed near the Paya Sugar Mill off of Baldwin Avenue at approximately 8:30 p.m. Officer O was responding to a complaint of trespassing, terroristic threats, and an armed subject shooting a handgun. As she and fellow officers were searching for the subject, he fired at officers while hiding behind a concrete pillar. Officer O was struck in the chest and under her left arm. Officers returned fire, hitting the suspect in the hip. Although first responders attempted life-saving measures, Officer O succumbed to her wounds at the scene. The suspect, a convicted felon, had received a temporary restraining order for the premises days earlier. He was taken into custody with non-life-threatening injuries and was charged with murder in the first degree. Officer O had served with the Maui County Police Department for 5 years and was assigned to District 1 Police Division Bravo Watch Shift. She was awarded the Certificate of Merit in 2023. Sunday, August 17th of 2025. Police officer Eric Estrada and Sergeant Lee Sorensen were shot and killed while responding to multiple 911 hang-up calls at a residence near 700 North and 200 East in Tremonton after 9 p.m. One of the officers was talking to a resident in the home about a domestic dispute. A man exited the house with a gun, opened fire, and mortally wounded the officer. Another officer arrived as backup and was also shot and killed. A deputy and a canine from the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office were hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries after being shot while in their patrol vehicle. As additional officers arrived, bystanders convinced the man to surrender. He was arrested and charged with aggravated murder. Officer Estrada had served with the Tremonton Garland Police Department for less than a year and previously served with the North Park Police Department, Box Elder County Sheriff's Office, and Logan City Police Department. He is survived by his wife and 2 children. Sergeant Sorensen had served with the Tremonton Garland Police Department for 16 years. He is survived by his wife and 3 children. Tuesday, August 26th of 2025. Police officer Hunter Simonoksik was intentionally struck and killed by the driver of a fleeing vehicle while he was deploying stop sticks on College Parkway and State Avenue in Kansas City. When responding to reports of gunfire in the area at 12:30 a.m., officers discovered an unconscious man in the driver's seat of a truck. As they approached, the driver fled, and officers pursued. The subject changed vehicles and continued to evade officers. Officer Simonoksik and another officer were laying down stop sticks when the man intentionally drove over a median and swerved into Officer Simonoksik before driving away. Officer Simonoksik was transported to the University of Kansas Medical Center where he succumbed to his injuries. The suspect crashed his truck and was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. When he was released, he was arrested on suspicion of first-degree murder, vehicular homicide, fleeing or attempting to elude a police officer, theft, criminal possession of a firearm, and aggravated failure to appear. The suspect, a convicted felon, had a warrant for his arrest and had a history of felony resisting arrest and evading law enforcement. Officer Simonsick has served with the Kansas City Police Department for over 1 year. He was survived by his parents and brother. Thursday, September 11th of 2025. Deputy Sheriff Andy LaHera succumbed to injuries he received on May 23rd of 2023 when he was struck by a vehicle while directing traffic at the intersection of Saunders Way and South Lecanto Highway in Lecanto, Florida. Around 9:05 p.m., Deputy LaHera was directing traffic after the graduation ceremony at Lecanto High School. Despite wearing a reflective vest, holding a flashlight, and having emergency lights activated on his patrol car, he was hit by a vehicle traveling southbound on South Lecanto Highway. Deputy LaHera was airlifted to the hospital with a traumatic brain injury and internal injuries. He was later moved to the rehabilitation facility where he passed away on September 11th of 2025. Deputy LaHera had served with the Citrus County Sheriff's Office for 14 years and was the Lecanto Middle School resource officer. He is survived by his wife and 2 sons. Monday, September 15th of 2025. Trooper Jerry Adamek was killed in a single vehicle crash while responding to a call for assistance on FM 945 in San Jacinto County. While traveling south on FM 945, Trooper Adamek's patrol vehicle left the road, crashed into a tree, and caught fire around 9:15 p.m. He passed away at the scene. Trooper Adamek was a U.S. Army veteran and had served with the Texas Department of Public Safety, Texas Highway Patrol for 1 year, assigned to Cold Spring. He is survived by his wife and 5 children. Wednesday, September 17th of 2025. Detective Isaiah Emmenheiser, Detective Sergeant Cody Becker, and Detective Marc Baker were shot and killed. And another detective from the Northern York County Regional Police Department and a deputy sheriff from the York County Sheriff's Office were wounded while attempting to serve an arrest warrant at the 1800 block of Har Road in North Codorus Township. A man was wanted for stalking a female, hiding in the field near her house, wearing camouflage, carrying an AR-15, and using binoculars to watch her. When detectives were unable to serve the warrant at the suspect's home, they were back at the home of the person he was stalking. At 2:08 p.m., detectives approached the house and realized the front door was unlocked. When they entered the house, they were met with gunfire. Detective Sergeant Becker and Detective Emmenheiser were ambushed. When Detective Baker and another detective tried to find cover, they were fired upon multiple times. The shooter then walked out of the house to fire at another detective and a York County Sheriff's Office deputy, striking the detective and the deputy's vehicle. The detective and the deputy returned fire, but the suspect continued to advance to the roadway until he was shot and killed. Detective Sergeant Becker, Detective Baker, and Detective Emmenheiser died at the scene. Another detective and the deputy were critically wounded. Detective Emmenheiser had served with the North York County Regional Police Department for 20 years. He is survived by his wife, son, daughter, mother, father, stepfather, and 2 sisters. Detective Baker was a U.S. Army veteran and had served with the North York County Regional Police Department for over 21 years. He had previously served with the Philadelphia Police Department. He is survived by his wife, 4 children, his mother, and 2 grandchildren. Detective Becker had served with the Northern York County Regional Police Department for 16 years. He is survived by his wife and 2 children. Wednesday, September 17th of 2025. Senior Police Officer Alex Roberts was killed in a motorcycle crash while conducting a traffic escort at 4:20 p.m. in Anderson County. Officer Roberts had served with the Houston Police Department for over 14 years and was assigned to the Traffic Enforcement Division Solo Motorcycle Detail. He is survived by his wife, daughter, mother, stepfather, twin brother, and 6 siblings. Friday, September 19th of 2025. Senior Trooper Craig Gaines passed away from complications related to a leg fracture he received while providing lead security detail for the head coach of the Florida A&M football team on September 9th of 2025. During the game against Florida Atlantic University at the FAU Stadium located at 777 Glades Road in Boca Raton, a player unintentionally ran into Trooper Gaines at the end of a play, fracturing his leg. While recovering from his injury, he began to feel ill and called for assistance. On September 19th of 2025, despite life-saving measures, Trooper Gaines succumbed to medical complications stemming from his leg injury. Trooper Gaines was a U.S. Navy veteran and had served with the Florida Highway Patrol for 17 years. He previously served with the Havana Police Department and the Gadsden County Sheriff's Office. He is survived by his wife, 3 children, parents, 2 brothers, and grandchildren. Sunday, September 28th of 2025. Sergeant Scott Hyman was shot and killed responding to a domestic violence call near the 2200 block of Downing Street in Hayes at approximately 1:56 a.m. Around 11 p.m. on Saturday, September 27th, authorities were responding to a call for help from a woman attempting to flee a domestic violence attack. While leaving her attacker, he hit her car and she sought cover in a neighbor's home. Upon arrival, officers began setting up a perimeter around the attacker's home when a shot was fired, striking Sergeant Hyman. Sergeant Hyman was immediately treated with life-saving measures and transported via air to a regional hospital, where he succumbed to his wounds at 4 a.m. Several local, regional, and state teams responded to negotiate with the shooter, who was ultimately found dead in his home with a self-inflicted gunshot wound around 6 a.m. Sergeant Hyman had served with the Hayes Police Department for 9 years. He is survived by his wife, daughter, son, parents, 2 brothers, 2 sisters, grandmother, nieces, and nephews. Friday, October 3rd of 2025. Police officer Ray Barantes was killed when his patrol car struck the rear end of a semi-trailer in Madera County at the intersection of State Route 152 and Road 13 at 10:30 p.m. Officer Barantes was driving his patrol car eastbound on the 152 when a semi-trailer hauling tomatoes southbound on Road 13 crossed the 152. Officer Barantes' patrol car collided with the right rear end of the semi-trailer. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The semi-trailer driver was not injured. Officer Barantes had served with the city of Chowchilla Police Department for nearly 2 years and previously served with the West Sacramento Police Department. He is survived by his wife and 3 children. Monday, October 6th of 2025. Deputy Sheriff Charlie Riley was shot and killed while interviewing a suspect at the Iberville Parish Courthouse at 58050 Miriam Street in Plaquemine. Around 8 p.m., Deputy Riley and a detective were interrogating a man as part of a sexual assault investigation. When they attempted to place the man under arrest, a struggle ensued. The suspect grabbed a gun and began firing. He shot both deputies before one of the deputies returned fire. Both deputies were transported to the hospital, where Deputy Riley succumbed to his wounds. The other deputy is in critical condition. The suspect was pronounced dead at the hospital. Deputy Riley was a U.S. Navy veteran and had served with the Iberville Parish Sheriff's Department for 6 years. He previously served with the Gonzales Police Department. He is survived by his wife, 2 daughters, a goddaughter, parents, a sister, and 2 brothers. Monday, October 6th of 2025. Police officer Henry Franklin was shot and killed while serving a warrant with his tactical team on County Road 408 in Mississippi County at approximately 7:30 p.m. On Monday evening, Officer Franklin and his tactical team were called to assist with serving a warrant linked to a homicide investigation from earlier that day. When the team arrived at the home of the suspect and attempted to make contact, the man fired, and the officers from inside the house, killing Officer Franklin and continuing to fire. The suspect remained barricaded in the home for 5 hours and was found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Officer Franklin was a U.S. National Guard veteran and had served with the Sikeston Department of Public Safety for 12 years. He is survived by his wife and 4 children. Wednesday, October 15th of 2025. Detective Corporal Christopher Mock suffered a fatal heart attack after responding to multiple investigations. On October 3rd of 2025, Detective Mock was called to the scene of a homicide. During the investigation, they called the bomb disposal team after finding an article that looked like an explosive device. Immediately after leaving the scene, he was called out to investigate a suicide. The next day, when Detective Marc suffered a heart attack, life-saving measures were performed and he was rushed to the hospital where he stayed until he passed away on October 15th of 2025. Detective Marc had served with the St. Lucie Police or Sheriff's Office for 21 years, assigned to the Criminal Investigation Division. He is survived by his wife and 2 children. He was posthumously promoted to Detective Corporal. Thursday, October 16th of 2025, Trooper Nikki Caton was struck and killed by the driver of a Mack truck on the northbound lane of Route 11 in Canfield around noon. Trooper Caton responded to a disabled tractor trailer and was in his patrol cruiser with lights activated when the truck hit him. His vehicle was pushed into the disabled tractor trailer. Trooper Caton was killed at the scene. The driver of the disabled tractor trailer was transported to the hospital. The driver of the Mack truck was not injured. Trooper Caton was an Ohio Army National Guard veteran and had served with the Ohio State Highway Patrol for 13 years. In 2022, he was named Ohio Trooper of the Year. He is survived by his wife, son, daughter, mother, and father. Friday, October 17th of 2025, Deputy Sheriff Joshua Brashears was killed in a single vehicle crash on Highway 15 around 5:30 a.m. While driving on Highway 15 south of East McKinney Street, his patrol vehicle struck 2 horses on the dark road. He was transported to the Memorial Hospital Biloxi, where he succumbed to his injuries. Deputy Brashears has served with the Jackson County Sheriff's Office for 2 years and previously served with the Greensville County, South Carolina Sheriff's Office for 13 years, the Wrangell, Colorado Police Department for 1 year, and the Garfield County, Colorado Sheriff's Office for 5 years. He is survived by his son, daughter, mother, father, and 4 siblings. Monday, October 20th of 2025, police officer Lauren Craven was struck and killed while helping at the scene of a vehicle collision on Interstate 8 near Waring Road. Around 10:20 p.m., a car traveling eastbound on I-8 struck another vehicle, flipped, and then was hit by another oncoming car. Officer Craven stopped at the scene to render aid to the 19-year-old man when she and the man were struck by another vehicle. Despite performing life-saving measures, Officer Craven died at the scene. The driver involved in the initial crash was also killed. The man who hit Officer Craven was arrested and charged with driving under the influence. Officer Craven had served with the La Mesa Police Department for almost 2 years. She was survived by her mother, father, sister, and partner. Friday, October 24th of 2025, Sergeant Thomas Durant succumbed to injuries sustained in a hit-and-run crash while conducting a traffic stop on Watt Street near Wilson Street in El Reno. Shortly before 2 a.m., Sergeant Dunn was flagged down by a pedestrian. As he spoke with the man on the roadside, a passing vehicle struck him and fled the scene. The pedestrian moved Sergeant Durant to safety and called for assistance. Sergeant Durant was airlifted to the University of Oklahoma Health Center, where he later succumbed to his injuries. His organs were donated following his passing, continuing his legacy of service. The driver was arrested the following day and charged with failure to stop at an accident resulting in great bodily injury and assault and battery with a deadly weapon. Sergeant Durant had served with the El Reno Police Department for 14 years. He had previously served with the Enid Police Department and worked as a detention officer with the Edmonton Police Department. He is survived by his wife and 4 children. Friday, October 24th of 2025, Corporal Marcial Rodriguez suffered a fatal heart attack after completing his shift as a school resource officer at Crystal River High School in Crystal River. On October 24th of 2025, during his 15-hour shift, Corporal Rodriguez was involved in multiple incidents, including the pursuit of a student fleeing campus. He then oversaw crowd management and security for the senior night football game. When he returned home, he was unable to resuscitate after suffering a cardiac event. Corporal Rodriguez had served with the Citrus County Sheriff's Office for over 25 years. He is survived by his wife and 2 sons. Monday, October 27th of 2025, Deputy Sheriff Andrew Nunez was shot and killed near a residence in the 12,300 block of Hollyhock Drive in Rancho Cucamonga at approximately 12:37 p.m. Deputy Nunez was responding to a call of a woman being threatened by an armed man in Rancho Cucamonga. When Deputy Nunez arrived, the armed man shot him in the head and then fled on a motorcycle. Deputy Nunes was immediately transported to Arrowhead Regional Medical Center in Colton, where despite life-saving efforts, he succumbed to his injuries. Local law enforcement tracked the suspect on his motorcycle along the 210 highway, where he led them on a high-speed pursuit until he was knocked off his motorcycle by a sedan that swerved into his lane. He was transported to a local hospital in stable condition. The suspect was charged with murder and two special circumstances: the killing of a peace officer in the line of duty and killing a peace officer in order to escape. He was also charged with attempted kidnapping, false imprisonment, and 4 counts of assault with a deadly weapon. Deputy Nunes had served with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department for 6 years. He is survived by his expectant wife, 2-year-old daughter, his mother, and 4 siblings. Tuesday, October 28th of 2025. Sergeant David Cahuso was killed in a motorcycle crash on Interstate 75 in Hialeah. Around 11:35 a.m., Sergeant Cahuso was driving on Interstate 75 near Northwest 138th Street when he crashed. He was transported to Jackson Memorial Hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. Sergeant Cahuso had served with the Miami Beach Police Department for 10 years. He is survived by his wife, 3 children, mother, and father. Sergeant Cahuso was posthumously promoted to sergeant. Friday, November 7th of 2025. Deputy Sheriff Devin was shot and killed while responding to a traffic crash in the 12,1200 block of Southwest 128th Street near Kendall at approximately 4 p.m. Late Friday afternoon, Deputy Jaramillo was dispatched to a traffic crash where, upon arrival, he was attacked. During the altercation, the man grabbed Deputy Jaramillo's gun and shot him in the neck. Bystanders reported the attack, and Deputy Jaramillo was transported to HCA Florida Kendall Hospital, where he succumbed to his injuries. The suspect, found nearby, died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. A second person was taken in for questioning. Deputy Jaramillo had served the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office for 1.5 years and had previously served with the Coral Gables Police Department for nearly 4 years. He is survived by his mother, father, who is a retired Miami-Dade police detective, and siblings. Saturday, November 8th of 2025. Police officer Roger Smith was shot and killed at the emergency department of the WakeMed Garner Healthplex at approximately 9 a.m. Officer Smith was working in the hospital emergency department when a struggle ensued, and Officer Smith was shot. Immediate life-saving efforts were performed by medical staff before Officer Smith was transported to WakeMed Raleigh. However, he succumbed to his wounds later that morning. The shooter was shot and wounded before being apprehended. He was charged with murder. Officer Smith had served with the WakeMed Campus Police and Public Safety Department for 14 years and previously served with the Knightdale Police Department for 16 years. He also volunteered as a firefighter. He was survived by his 2 daughters, mother, brother, granddaughter, and longtime partner. Wednesday, November 12th of 2025. Corporal Blake Reynolds was struck and killed while helping a disabled motorist on northbound Interstate 69. Around 4 a.m., Corporal Reynolds parked behind a disabled semi-truck with his patrol vehicle lights activated. While assisting the driver, another tractor-trailer crashed into the patrol car. The disabled semi-truck and Corporal Reynolds, who was standing outside of his patrol vehicle. He was transported to IU Health Ball Memorial Hospital, where he succumbed to his injuries. Corporal Reynolds was a U.S. Army National Guard veteran and had served with the Delaware County Sheriff's Office for 3 years. He is survived by his wife, parents, and brother. Friday, November 14th of 2025. Police officer Marc was shot and killed while serving a search warrant at the 1700 block of North Pine Street in Vivian. When Officer Brock arrived at the suspect's home shortly before 5:30 p.m., the suspect fired multiple shots through the closed door, striking Officer Brock. The suspect barricaded himself in the house until surrendering to SWAT and law enforcement officials around 9:10 p.m. Officer Brock was transported to the North Cato Medical Center, where he succumbed to his wounds. The suspect was arrested and charged with second-degree murder and cyberstalking. Monday, November 17th of 2025. Corrections Officer Jeremy Hall was attacked and killed by an inmate at the River North Correctional Center at 329 Delbrook Lane in Independence at 7:53 a.m. He was transported to a local hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. 2 additional officers were injured and released from the hospital. The inmate was serving time for an armed carjacking offense, use of a firearm in the commission of a felony offense, and a shoplifting offense. He was charged with 1 count of aggravated murder, 2 counts of attempted aggravated murder, 1 count of malicious wounding, 1 count of aggravated malicious wounding. Corrections Officer Hall had served with the Virginia Department of Corrections for a year and a half. Thursday, November 20th of 2025. Police Officer Alec Sanders was killed in a vehicle crash at 3 a.m. at the intersection of Valley Boulevard and Edgewood Drive in Alhambra. Officers were pursuing a stolen SUV northbound on Edgewood Drive when it collided with Officer Sanders' patrol vehicle, driving westbound on Valley Boulevard. Officer Sanders was transported to the Los Angeles General Medical Center, where he succumbed to his injuries. The driver and one of the passengers were injured with non-life-threatening injuries, and a third passenger died at the scene. The driver was arrested on suspicion of second-degree murder. Officer Sanders had served with the Alhambra Police Department for 8 months and previously served with the Long Beach Police Department for over a year. He is survived by his fiancée, 2 younger sisters, and a brother. Friday, November 21st of 2025. Sergeant Terri Sweeting-Mashkow was shot and killed while serving an eviction notice at the 1100 block of Governor's Way in Vero Beach at 9:02 a.m. When 3 deputies and a locksmith entered the home at 8:42 a.m., a subject approached them in the entryway and fired at them. 1 deputy was struck in the shoulder before fleeing into the garage. Sergeant Sweeting-Mashkow was struck and killed at the scene. Another sergeant returned fire, wounding the shooter. The locksmith, David Long, was critically wounded and succumbed to his wounds 2 days later. He was posthumously named an honorary deputy. The suspect was transported to the hospital in critical condition and died 2 days later. Sergeant Sweeting-Mashkow had served with the Indian River County Sheriff's Office for 25 years. She is survived by her husband, daughter, stepson, and mother. Thursday, November 27th of 2025. Specialist Sarah Beckstrom succumbed to a gunshot wound she received when she was ambushed while on patrol near Farragut Square Metro Station in Washington, D.C. On Wednesday, December 26th of 2025, a gunman walked up to Specialist Beckstrom and 2 other guardmen and opened fire around 2:15 p.m. While he was standing over one of the guardsmen preparing to shoot again, another guardsman returned fire, striking the gunman. Specialist Beckstrom and the other guardsmen were transported to local hospitals where Specialist Beckstrom passed away on November 27th of 2025. The other guardsman is in critical condition. The suspect remains in the hospital recovering from gunshot wounds. He was charged with 3 counts of assault with the intent to kill while armed and criminal possession of a weapon, and will be charged with murder in the first degree. Over 2,000 National Guard troops have been deployed to guard Washington, D.C. since August of 2025. They are sworn in and deputized with the United States Department of Justice, United States Marshals Service as certified law enforcement officers. Specialist Beckstrom had served with the United States Department of Defense, Army National Guard, West Virginia Army National Guard for over 2 years and was assigned to the 863rd Military Police Company, 111th Engineer Brigade. She had been deployed to Washington, D.C. since August of 2025 and volunteered to stay for the Thanksgiving weekend. She was survived by her parents. Tuesday, December 2nd of 2025. Police officer Andy Chan succumbed to injuries he received in a motorcycle crash on January 3rd of 2019. Around 6 p.m., Officer Chan was driving on Ron Street in Philadelphia when the driver of another vehicle struck his motorcycle near Roland Boulevard. Neither driver was cited for the crash. Officer Chan was transported to the hospital with severe brain trauma and was in a coma for a few weeks. He was released from the hospital and battled his injuries for over 6 years before passing away on December 2nd of 2025. Officer Chan had served with the Philadelphia Police Department for 24 years. He was survived by his wife, 3 children, parents, sister, and 3 brothers. Wednesday, December 3rd of 2025. Detective Tim Jones succumbed to gunshot wounds he received on March 19th of 2016 while attempting to apprehend a robbery suspect. At 5:30 a.m., a resident reported a suspicious vehicle at 314 Neola Street in Park Forest. When Detective Jones and another officer arrived, they observed a stolen vehicle in the driveway and forced entry into the home. The officers surrounded the residence and issued commands for the subject inside to surrender. The subject escaped through a window, and Detective Jones tackled the man to the ground. As the subject continued to struggle and would not place his hands behind his back, an officer used a taser to subdue him. The subject pulled out a gun and fired, striking Detective Jones before fleeing from the officers. Officers returned fire, killing the suspect. Detective Jones was transported to the St. James Hospital in Olympia Fields and then airlifted to Christ Medical Center, where he suffered from paralysis and seizures due to being shot in the head, neck, and jaw. On December 3rd of 2025, he succumbed to his wounds. Detective Jones had served with the Park Forest Police Department for 9 months. He is survived by his father, mother, and sister. Friday, December 19th of 2025, Trooper Tara-Marysa was struck and killed while investigating the scene of a 2-vehicle crash on State Route 509 south of Port of Tacoma. Before 7:30 p.m., Trooper Gooding was standing outside of her patrol car on southbound lanes of State Route 509 near milepost 2 when a vehicle hit her. Despite bystanders performing life-saving measures, she succumbed to her injuries. The driver stayed at the scene and has not been cited. Trooper Gooding was an Army National Guard veteran and served with the Washington State Patrol for more than a year, assigned to District 1. She is survived by her husband. Tuesday, December 23rd of 2025, Corporal Grade 1 Ty Snook was shot and killed at the Karen L. Johnson Division of Motor Vehicles facility at 2230 Hessler Boulevard in Newcastle. Around 2 p.m., a man entering the DMV building and shortly thereafter approached Corporal Snook from behind while he was at the reception desk and shot him. After pushing a DMV employee out of the way, Corporal Snook was hit again. A responding Newcastle police officer arrived at the scene and shot the suspect. The suspect died at an area hospital. Corporal Snook was transported to Christiana Hospital, where he succumbed to his wounds. Corporal Snook was working at the DMV in an overtime position and had served with the Delaware State Police for 10 years. He is survived by his wife and daughter. Sunday, December 28th of 2025, Deputy Sheriff Justin Mowery was killed in a single vehicle crash at Miser Station Road and Vinegar Valley Road around 5:12 p.m. Deputy Mowery had served with the Blount County Sheriff's Office for 5 years. He is survived by his mother. To all the 97 officers who lost their life in the line of duty in 2025, thank you for your service.